I know that voice.
Welcome to a Get to the Roots Extra. I'm here with Marty and Bonnie Fouts, two professional musicians based out of St. Petersburg, Florida, and who have many musical releases with several different bands, and they also play with many different musicians. They both have super kindly taken time out of their schedule to speak with me here. So, you guys, thank you so much for all of your support, by the way, with my work on Radio St. Pete, with the Florida Folk Show, with my original Radio St. Pete newsletter, Rest in Peace, and also my show, Get to the Roots, which this conversation will be broadcast on, as well as the podcast version. Thank you guys so much and welcome.
Thanks for asking us.
Glad to be here.
Okay, so first question. So you guys are going by the Lovebirds these days. I love it for obvious reasons. So how'd you come up with the name?
I'm gonna leave that to Marty because I think he's the one that came up with it.
I don't know, the lovers made for life, don't they?
Yeah, hopefully.
It's been a rough morning.
It's been a rough week. Yeah,
Well,
we won't go into it. Starting about midweek. So anyway, I think we were looking, and actually it's those Lovebirds, because when we put in to become the Lovebirds, it's like, oh, that already exists, so we just change it to those Lovebirds.
And we stole that from the opening act from an old 97 show called Those Darlings.
Yes.
Maybe it was Them Darlings.
No, it was Those Darlings. I think. Oh, well, whatever.
Yeah, we saw them over at Skipper's, and it was an all-female band opening act for the old 97.
Yeah.
Well, you take inspiration from wherever it comes from. And well, I saw those Lovebirds on Facebook, and then when I saw Grego Anderson's poster, it said The Lovebirds, and that brings me to Grego Anderson's latest album released in 2024, where the song We're All Here is reaching the charts for the top 40s and making a big splash on Radio St. Pete listeners as well.
Excellent. Good news. We actually had nothing to do with that record.
No, we didn't.
He did it all himself.
He did.
He played all the instruments and sang and recorded, he engineered and mixed and mastered the whole thing. We had nary a thing to do with it.
But you played at his CD release party.
We did.
Yes.
And at the Tiki, which sadly is no longer there.
I know, got washed away.
Thanks to Helene and then Milton. It's the place that he and I played our first three gigs. And then Bonnie and I played with him at a CD release party is no more.
Well, that's just how it goes in Hurricane Land. Well, I must say, I have this all written down, by the way. I must say, you guys have saved Pete's and the Florida Folk Show's butts a few times lately, swooping in, playing, and singing. How did you both come to be such wonderful music superheroes at all times of the day?
All times of the day.
We live close by.
We do live. We live within 5 minutes of the Craftsman House. And when it's been at Hawthorne Bottle Shop, they're both right in our neighborhood.
And we both love Pete and you and Tim and Amber and Diane and everyone associated with that show. And we were actually on, the Florida Folk Show when it was on M&F a couple of times. But we just love that it's on the porch of the Craftsman House, and it moves around. You were there at the when we did it from the hull of the research vessel out there at USF. Fantastic. I mean, and they just did it last week from Everglades City. I think it's wonderful that you all do remotes, and I'm just happy to be included in any time there's a spot for us.
Well, you guys made a big impact on me because you guys were there the second Florida Folk Show that I ever got to be a part of. And I was like, these guys are so cool and they look vaguely familiar. And then I realized I was your mail person 10 years prior for a few months.
Small world.
And then so on that, the 2 years ago, we talked about, Bonnie, we talked with you a little bit about your process for songwriting and how you come up with lyrics. And I was wondering if you could speak to that again, and if you both could just talk about your inspiration when you write your own music.
Well, I have to make a confession. I really don't write songs. So my process depends quite heavily on Marty. So when Born in St. Pete came to be, it just started with me. We're sitting on the couch one Sunday morning. Tell me your story about growing up here, et cetera, et cetera. And then Marty kind of came up with the music. Take it from there.
Yeah, just a simple, it's a story set to a few simple chords, which a lot of good songs are. But it's Bonnie's story, and it's her song because it's her story and it's her life. It's told in that little song, and I don't know a whole lot of other people that were born in St. Pete. My daughter, Stephanie, where were you born?
Oh, I was born in Baltimore.
Oh, okay.
In where?
Baltimore.
Okay.
And I was born in the same hospital as Jay Sun from the Friday night show on Radio St. Pete,
Cool.
which is kind of weird. He told me the hospital he was born in when we first met, and I was like, "Oh, sweet, me too." But yeah, so yeah, there isn't a lot of people born in St. Pete that are still in St. Pete, is there?
Yeah, and I just wanted to get her perspective and all the things that, because I've only been here 36 years and I've seen a ton of stuff change, but I thought, wow, this lady right here has seen it from 1954 and her first memories, and
it's unrecognizable.
Before the Museum of Fine Arts, and before I was here when St. Pete was, as Pete Gallagher likes to say, Salt Petersburg, where there was everything closed up at sundown.
It's true.
And there was the only place for live music was Club Detroit downtown. Thank God for Rob Douglas and Club Detroit, and it's where I used to go hear the Headlights and Dolores Telescope and Multicolor House and all these wonderful bands that formed in the '80s and played all their own music. But there were precious few places for them to play, mostly on the beach and on Largo and Clearwater. But downtown St. Pete was Deadsville. And you can say that it's grown so much now. Maybe it's overdone. I would fall on that side. Progress is slippery slope.
So I don't really have a process. What's your process, Marty? Though, but to kind of go back to Stephanie's question.
I usually a lot of times it's anger, like I'm feeling right now, and but I haven't written any songs this week. Or if there's something that like these goofy little country songs I've been writing, like I'm a blue man in a red county, in a red state, in a red part of the USA. That's my jam right now because it's kind of what I'm feeling. But and then I've recorded several songs with J. Cole. Thank you, Jay. When after 2016 and 2018, and as we got into COVID, it got really ugly. So I wrote a bunch of stuff then.
That's really cool. I resonate with how you guys feel about things no longer rolling up early. I lived on the other coast of Florida for a long time, and things did close earlier, and it kind of created we had like a nice sense of community, like kind of in private, where people would have house parties and they were small and intimate. And now when I go downtown, I feel like I'm in a fishbowl a lot of times.
Oh,
And I'm like, who are these people? And also, why are they mean?
Who invited them?
Exactly. I'm like, I have a lot of family down in Florida. I have permission to be here, guys. I don't know about y'all. But but getting back on topic, okay, here's some more things that I wrote down. I feel like every time I turn around, I hear that Marty is playing with someone different, like Grego, Chuck Walston, and many more. And when I turn the other direction, I find out that Bonnie's in a ukulele band and that you both are doing it up as a duo, playing in all these different places. If we were to list everyone you both play with, would it take all day? Who should we really be mentioning here?
I'm going to say my genesis as a singer and performer, that's for me started way back in junior high. We called it back then, in high school. My friend Cindy Stroud Pitt now, she and I have a little folk singer duo, and we played, Peter, Paul, and Mary, and all the folky stuff that was popular then. I'm aging myself, I realize. And then when I was in high school, I played with a little 5-piece called the Six Pack Minus One. And it was like a continuation of the whole folk thing. And our band director at Lakewood High, Mr. Van Dyson, would let us play a few songs before the band performances. So that was my first band opportunities. And then I got married and I was raising babies when Marty was talking about Dolores Telescope and Multicolored House. I was busy raising two little ones. So music wasn't really my focus. I did keep taking piano lessons and that kind of thing, but it wasn't until I met Marty that I actually started playing out. So with you, what were we with? The Channel Cats, a little string band that doesn't exist anymore. And then
you got in that band almost immediately because we didn't have a bass.
That's right. And Marty had kind of tutored me on playing bass. I played six string, not well, by the way, in junior high and high school. But he kind of gave me the rudiments of the bass, and so that's how I got into that thing. And then it was Delta 88. Which,
I have to tell you about Bonnie's first gig playing bass.
Okay.
I was fortunate enough to host a jam session over at Dania Shores, and it used to be called the Outback Pavilion, but it was right next to the Shriners Club, and they had a neat bar in there. And this guy that was a Shriner got hold of me. I need you to host a rock and blues jam every Sunday evening from 5 to 9.
5 to 9. Yeah.
And so I would drive to Tampa every year. The only ones we didn't do was Mother's Day and Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Every other Sunday for a solid year. And we had, of course, as jam sessions go, a couple of drummers, a line of guitar players, a few bass players. So I had a bass and I would end up playing bass a lot of the time for the first couple. Bonnie went over with me, and on a break, I said, "Come here." And I put the bass in her hand, and I showed her, I said, just play this route. These are all 1-4-5 song, done, done, done. And then you go up here. And she, being a musician herself, having taken piano lessons for years, she's a real musician in the sense that she can read and sight read music and sit at the piano and play a piece of music. It looked like Arabic or Chinese to me. But anyway, she learned. And then, like on the next break, I taught her, well, if you do play these three notes, bom, 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 but like a walking bass line. So by the end of the night, she's a functioning bass player at this blues jam. And then every Sunday thereafter,
no pressure,
she was the bass player. And that's how she actually got into playing bass.
That's actually
thrown into the fire.
So then it was from the Channel Cats, Delta 88, and then Rosewood Creek.
Right.
And then
let's see.
When Colin stopped playing music, it became the RC3 with the drummer, Raymond.
I know this is only
it's
audio.
It's only
but
audio.
at least you can see.
Oh, wow. You guys look so cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Marty, your Genesis, he's been in a lot more bands than me, so you might as well list some of them.
Junior high. In northern Indiana, I had a friend who had a couple of old amplifiers and somewhere a drum set. I remember being down in his kid's basement. We had no idea what we were doing, but he had a Black Sabbath album. We tried to play War Pigs or something like that, and it was just dreadful. But it was the most fun I'd had in my life. I couldn't believe I would have done it for the next 8 hours, but their parents sent us home eventually. And then when I was about 15, I had a friend, his name was Dean Rao, and I just wished him a happy birthday on Facebook. I'm 67, so they're the same age. And he taught me the first song I really learned proper all the way through was House of the Rising Sun. And in that song, there's an A minor, C, D, an F, and an E. And with those chords, once you learn to do that, and I played that song for like 6 hours straight because it was a whole song. I finally knew how to play a song. With all of those chords, I learned a bunch of other songs. Then he started a band called Dean Rao's Typical Teenage Band. kind of, tongue in cheek. It wasn't typical. We played all his songs. He had these original songs. So, a typical teenage band would have played the bubblegum hits of the day, but we played all his songs. And we did a two sock hops and another dance at the school, and that was the extent of our gigging out. But it was just brilliant, and I never wanted to do anything else. It's to my detriment. Here I am, broken, old, and with no skills, but I've had a wonderful life playing music.
What other bands were you in?
Oh, yeah.
Got
So
a variety of.
this is this is the Cane Breakers, and the one holding the tambourine is my second wife, Vicky, and the one next to the conga drum is my friend Deb Wall, who lives in Athens, Georgia, and her brother owns Walk Street Records, which is where REM used to practice. Two of them worked there. Pete Buck worked there, and they would practice there after work. But that was the Cane Breakers. This was Night Shift, a straight up country band that I actually love. That's me with the David Cassidy hair and the sport jacket right here. Wonderful band. Two of those people are passed on now. And here's another one. Yeah, this is another band. This is called Carlton Ritz. And that, again, my second wife there in the center. And two of the people in this picture have passed on. But this was my favorite musical act ever. This tops them all. Is Bonnie when she had red curly hair.
Wow. Oh, that's a great picture, you guys. I might need you to send me a picture of that picture so I can make it the thumbnail for this episode. I would love that. It's beautiful. Um, so so we talked about some of the people that you've played with personally. We talked about some of your influences a little bit and um knowing people that knew REM, that's amazing. So who made the biggest impact on you both musically? Just someone that you listened to, like just someone that you've just enjoyed throughout your life. Bob Dylan?
Bob Dylan. Okay, there's the holy trinity: Bob Dylan, Neil Young, and probably Jackson Browne and a couple others. Tom Petty early on, but Dylan and Neil Young. I would literally wait outside the record store for them to open when they had a new album coming in.
My influences leaned heavily towards keyboards, since that was my main. Like I said, I played guitar, but not well. I mean, I grew up around music. My grandparents were both musicians. My grandfather in a roaring 20s band called the Imperial Ramblers. He played all of the saxophones. And every Sunday night we'd have dinner at their house, and everybody was expected to sing along or perform. So it was always very music based. So my grandparents kind of laid the foundation here. But then when I got into high school, I went through my Black Sabbath period. My mother, of course, loved that. My heavy metal era. And then, I started listening to Emerson, Lake and Palmer and Yes, and a lot of those big bands that, included a lot of keyboards. And funny small world, when I used to go out to Colorado in the summers, I met Paul DeVilliers and his wife, Lois Allen. And Paul was one of the producers of one of Yes's albums. And so it was like, wow, you never know who you're going to meet, right? And I still maintain a long distance friendship with them. They're up in British Columbia now, but he was a record producer and retired. So those kind of bands were a little bit more what I listened to when I was in high school and college. And then I kind of branched out. Of course, I listened to Tom Petty and all the ones that Marty mentioned as well.
But think more of a progressive rock or art rock, thinking man's
rock and roll. Well, no, not thinking man's, just because it included keyboards, and it was where my head was, because until about 15 years ago, I still took classical piano lessons and had classical piano recitals and that kind of thing. I must say, playing music with Marty and playing with all the groups and bands we've been with. Oh, and I didn't mention, Junction 27 is my latest thing. And then Becky McCalla and I both play a duo called Due Angeli. So, this is a lot more fun than those classical piano recitals. Trust me, a lot more fun.
Yeah, I'm sure no one's asking you to play any Rachmaninoff when you're jamming out in Junction 27. Okay, so We should all know by now, we've mentioned P. Gallagher a few times. He has many go-to funny stories about his interactions both on and off the stage. Personally, I can think of a very funny story where he thought a certain someone was in the checkout line at Publix when that lovely musician was actually traveling in the Czech Republic. I feel like many of us have heard that funny story a lot, and it does not get old. But do you guys have any funny stories from your gigs or recording that just always bring a smile to your face or make you laugh when you reflect on them?
Gosh, I don't know. I think. Go ahead.
No, you first.
No, you go. You go.
We had gotten hired to play the Channel Cats for the uh, uh, SPIF, the St. Pete International Folk Fair Society, the old version before um, Goody got involved. Before then, and it used to be seemed to be a bigger deal. They would have a big thing down in Stroud Park, a big thing. Maybe it went on a couple days. I don't know. Anyway, they had hired us to play their banquet, and it was a banquet hall up in Largo, and obviously lots of people not from America there, and but they hired us and they had heard us, so we figured they knew what kind of music we played, so we plug in, and almost by the end of the first song, can you play any dance music? Uh, do you know any disco, any dance music, electric slide? We want to, and it's like, no, we're kind of like a string band, you know. We didn't even have a drummer. So I started playing. I said, let's do this, you know, like an Elvis. We played a couple of Elvis songs, swinging. Nope. By about the fourth song, or maybe it was the first break, they might have let us play all the way to our first break, and they said, we want to just play CDs the rest of the night through your sound system. And we said, great. We hooked up the CD player to our PA, put all our instruments away, and sat at the bar and drank.
And they paid us the full amount.
You know the first song, and I will never forget this.
Oh God, play that funky music. KC and the Sunshine Band.
I was the boogie singer. But it was great, and it was. But that's a
true story too.
Fired mid gig in favor of a CD player.
Oh gosh. I think and it's not nearly as funny as that, but the first time I recorded anything with Marty, who's recording his second CD at Steve Connolly's at Zen, and I had this little old crummy bass, electric bass, your Samick bass. I was nervous anyway because I was really new at this bass guitar thing. I remember talking to the drummer while we waited for Steve to get everything set up. I said, really rudimentary. He said, no, just as long as you're on the beat and on the route, you'll be fine. So still nervous when I get in there, and Steve is trying desperately to get everything set up, and turns out that little bass was picking up the drums. So he hands me this huge, beautiful precision bass, Fender precision bass. I was so incredibly nervous. And that was really my first time meeting Steve. So I felt like such a fish out of water.
Now you have a beautiful precision bass of your own.
I was just gonna say, I swear I've seen you with a Fender.
Like the black and white.
After that, well, yeah, Pete was using that for a while. I think he really wanted to buy it from me, but I really liked that bass. But anyway, yeah, I went out and bought it after that experience. I thought, if I'm going to keep doing this, I got to have a better instrument, you know? So that was one of my funny stories way back. I had never been in a recording studio.
Down in Ruskin one time, we played for the Goat Ropers, and they came up and they had this huge set. I said, my God, how much money do these people have? They had this enormous tent set up, and we brought our own sound system and everything. But these people, the food and the stuff they put out, and they didn't want the party to end. So this was, 20, 25 years ago. They gave us an extra $150. I think they were only paying us like $300 to begin. It was way back when. And they wanted us to play for another hour. And then I think we played for another half an hour after that. But I don't even know if that group still exists, but it was literally the Ruskin, Southern Hillsborough County Goat Ropers Association.
They existed.
Were they roping goats like at the time, or are they just having a party?
It was just a party, but there was a lot of cowboy boots and hats, and they were, I don't know where they were roping the goats at, but that's, there's a line in that old, song, Redneck Mothers, goat ropers need love too, bumper sticker on the back of his truck. Goat ropers need love too. So that's the first I'd heard of goat ropers, and then we ended up playing for a group of them down in Ruskin.
Before my time.
It was.
Before my time,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
That was,
I would remember that.
that was Nino, Todd, and I, and the drummer, Ivan, who's passed on. I feel lucky to still be alive. I have so many musician friends that are no longer around, and happy to still be here.
No, I'm thinking
Oh, okay.
no, I mean, I want to say, so I've known a lot of people that have passed away too. And the way that I personally deal with it is like when you're lucky enough to know so many wonderful people, you're lucky enough to keep them with you. And like it's great that you guys can still celebrate them and your musical memories and you still think of them today. So I mean, I feel yeah, man. Totally. So next question. We're coming to the end, by the way. So we got two more. So this is it's a multi-part question. Other than Radio St. Pete, where should we all be looking to hear your music? And then part two, do you have any gigs coming up that we should be announcing? Like, for example, are you playing at the Botanical Gardens again this year?
December 2nd, we're playing at the Botanical Gardens, those Lovebirds. Junction 27, I'm real involved with Bowley Centers and president of the Bowley Angels, a fundraising, auxiliary for that organization. And their Jingle Bell Run is Friday, December 13th, down on the waterfront, St. Pete. And Junction 27 will once again be playing, and that is always a lot of fun. And so we're going to be working on, for the next few weeks before then, rewriting, I hope, we've talked about it, rewriting some of our originals with Christmas lyrics. I think Joe Pravanik, who plays uke in the band and does a lot of the singing, he rewrote and he plays beautiful violin also. He rewrote one of our songs, and it was absolutely hilarious. So I think Becky's trying real hard to get us to rewrite some of those. So we're working on our Christmas set. And then, the Jingle Bell Run.
When is that?
Friday, December 13th.
Friday the 13th. Oh.
I know, right? And then Marty and I, of course, playing December 2nd at the Botanical Gardens. And I don't know if we'll be playing another time. I don't know. They usually ask for more than one. It just depends on how many people are available to come out.
I have another gig coming up this coming Friday, at Noisemakers, which, if you haven't been, is a wonderful venue. They can fit about 50 to 60 people in there. This is a ticketed event. It's called Willie C. Caps is the feature act. It's Will Kimbrough, who co-wrote songs with Jimmy Buffett and has a couple of songs on his own that are just, probably big hits on the Americana charts. I don't keep track of that stuff. But Will Kimbrough is brilliant songwriter and musician. Grayson Caps and Corky Hughes. And so it's a trio. And then the opening act is going to be Switchback Locomotive. And that is myself and the owner of Noisemakers, Gabe Whitney, his son, Quinn Whitney, on bass, and a former student and young associate of mine named Casey Steinman. So it's an acoustic quartet, and we'll do probably, Casey picks all the songs, like probably a couple of Grateful Dead songs and some old classics.
Bluegrass.
Yeah, it's not bluegrass.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's acoustic, and we'll be opening, probably playing 30 minutes before Willie C. Caps, which is the feature act. And I bought tickets for this like 2 months ago. It'll be a really good show, and I think there's some tickets left.
Awesome, wonderful.
Friday the 15th.
And this will be on Get to the Roots on the 13th broadcast. So we've only got 2 days away. So people can pencil that in on their calendars. All right. So this is the last question. This is the question that I've decided I'm going to end all my interviews with.
Oh,
And it's for both of you, and you can answer together or separate. All right, so this is the question. So if you could tell everyone on the planet one thing, and it could be one thing with many sentences, like what would you tell them? What would be your personal words of wisdom that you think everybody in this freaking world should know? What would be your message to the world if everyone had to hear it and understand it?
ooh, that's a tough one, especially after the week we've all endured.
Feel free to ignore this last week and not focus on it.
I would say, even in light of recent history, um, believe what you believe for good reasons, and don't let anyone extinguish your light. Keep moving forward for what you believe in, no matter what that is. Um, just don't let other people make you question yourself, and just believe in what you believe is the right thing, and treat other people kindly. Don't assume everybody believes. Line from Into the Woods, Stephen Sondheim. While you're busy seeing your way, someone else is not. And I think, despite politics and everything else, I think we all need to remember that not everybody believes the same way. And as long as you have good reasons to believe what you believe, then don't let anybody extinguish your light. How about you?
What she said, she's the smart one. Anything that comes out of my mouth right now is not going to be wise or philosophical or
Oh, whatever, Marty. I mean,
vote
you're
Democratic. The ask you say
Donkey.
may be your own.
I'm gonna have to bleep you, sir. I will
Mhm.
say I said I'm going to bleep him out.
Donkey. It's the symbol of the party.
I'm just playing. Marty, I just want to say before we wrap this up, you said earlier you have no skills. I mean, you are being interviewed by a woman that has played guitar since she was 13 and still only knows four chords, and I only know one rhythm. It's this random rhythm. I can't do it. Music is a mystery to some of us. I can't sing on key. There are so many people out there that have always wished to have the skills that you both have worked so
Right.
hard on and developed. And when you both play, it always blows me away. Whether it's just you guys sitting looking adorable on the front porch of the Craftsman house, whether you're playing next to Grego, when we heard you at Hawthorne Bottle Shop, or when I put one of your songs into the Get to the Roots playlist, it always makes me happy. And I always see tremendous skill and value with what you bring, both lyrically and also music wise, and of course music wise when you guys play covers. So it blows me away, and I'm so grateful to have you guys in my life, and I'm so grateful to be able to platform you here on this radio show and podcast. So I guess we're wrapping up. Thank you guys so much again. This is broadcast on November 13th edition of Get to the Roots. It'll also be available on Spotify under Get to the Roots Extras, a place to keep these interviews safe when Radio St. Pete isn't always liable to archive all broadcasts.
Okay.
We love Get to the Roots too. It's there was a show around here for years. It's no longer on. And it was called Nine Bullets Radio, and it was beloved. And the guy packed up and left. Your show, the songs you play, your selection, the spirit of it is as close as anything to that. And you're really carving your own path. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you. Well, it's in full support of the Florida Folk Show. I see it as a pillar to hold up the music community and to also just hold up Pete and Jay, Kolb,
Yes.
and Radio
Yes.
St. Pete as well. Like it's
Yeah.
like it basically it's getting me just getting to be like super fan out. Like, yeah, this song is so good. Everyone must listen.
Good stuff.
Well,
We picked great songs.
Oh,
thanks for
thank
having
you.
us, Stephanie. And
Oh,
we both appreciate you so much, and the whole crew there at Florida Folk Show and all of Radio St. Pete. But you're specifically a very bright lady.
aw.